We have with us today head men's track and field coach Rick Witt, along with Ryan Wiersba and Michael Evans. Ryan and Michael are part of our distance medley relay team that qualified for nationals, along with Nick Geiger, who is qualified in the heptathlon.
Correct, yes.
Coach, you can start with just your thoughts on the season and these two young men that are sitting with you and everybody else that qualified for nationals.
Well, it's appropriate that I was running around trying to find two people to come and sit down, because that's kind of been the way our season has been. Best analogy I can probably give you is I felt like Mike McCarthy when everybody on the Packers was getting sick or hurt. That's kind of been the story of Stevens Point this year. And it is appropriate that these two guys are sitting here too, because with the injuries and sicknesses that we've had, these have been the guys that have had to step up and maybe take a little bigger step than they had anticipated having to do for us to be able to get this relay team to nationals.
So how long have these two guys been a part of the team, or how many changes in the team have you had to go through?
Well, when we qualified for this team, Michael was supposed to be on the relay team. 20 minutes before the relay was supposed to run, he was in the bathroom throwing up with the flu. So we were changing personnel on this fly before the relay team ever started. And all of that came about because of Dan Sullivan, who has had a lot of health issues this spring, and he's our he's our Aaron Rodgers, and when he went down, we started shuffling around trying to get things put together. And I'm just proud of the fact that we were able to pull it together, knowing that our best guy and the guy that was the National Athlete of the Year last year hasn't really even been a factor for us this year. So these guys, they've been in and out of the lineup about every other weekend, to answer your question.
Coach, how many people did you qualify for the tournament? What's the community support that you have?
We have a distance medley relay, which we will have 5 individuals consist of that relay, 4 of which can run, and 1 of which can be the alternate, and right now Michael is the alternate. You have to declare the team that got you to the national championships. And if you were to have 2 individuals that were sick or hurt, then you have to pass on the relay team. You can't put your team in. So Michael was originally on the relay, but he did not run when we qualified, so he is qualified as the alternate for the relay team. And then Nick Geiger will be in the multi-event. And we were 3/1000ths of a second short in one event, and a couple of other spots within a couple of inches. And so but that's track and field. That's just the way it is. I tell people that unlike a lot of sports, track and field, if you're a football player or basketball player, and by no means do I mean to diminish what happens there, but you could be, somebody will say so-and-so's at 90%, you know, and they can make a contribution to your team because you can play them, set them out, bring them back, do that type of stuff. In track and field, I tell people the difference between being a stud and a dud is about 3%. If you're not at 100%, you might as well stay home, because you're not going to be able to do the job. That's how close it is. When you're talking about 3/1000ths of a second, that's like 99.999% versus 100. And so that's the interesting part about track and field. It's different than some of the other sports. Yeah.
What's been the school and community support been like?
I'm sorry?
What's the school and community support been like since you guys have come?
We've had awesome support. I mean, if you look at just the crowds that we've had for track and field, I think people are amazed at how many people will show up and come downstairs and walk through the MAC, and it's absolutely packed when we've had track meets. And so the community support, Stevens Point's a running community. For those of you that have lived here very long, you realize that there's a lot of support for running. And track and field, cross country, it really doesn't make much difference. But there's great support, and we greatly appreciate the support that the community gives us.
Ryan, talk a little bit about the changes in your team through the course of the indoor season, and how tough is that on you guys individually?
Well, it's pretty tough mentally, but you gotta kind of stay composed, and even like you don't know who's gonna be filling in, but you know, you just do your job and stay focused on what you're here to do, and that's kind of what it's been. But it's been tough with everybody injured, and you know, the momentum kind of, like our conference meet, we didn't run the greatest, and it kind of drained. Like I know I could see like the other guys were getting down because everybody was sick, everybody wasn't performing good. But it's been a tough season in that aspect, but you just got to stay mentally right and just do what you've been trained to do, and just run hard and do what you can.
Are you guys closer to full health now as you go to nationals?
Oh yeah, we're ready to see what we can do, and should have a good shot, at least podium and stuff like that.
So your best may be yet to come.
Yep, hopefully.
Either of you three that want to answer, I mean, you guys have the 8th best time in the nation for the relay team. How do you think you guys stack up against the rest of the field when it comes down to the national tournament?
I feel like anything can happen in a national tournament because it's so close. You look at all them times that are ahead of us, it's only a few tenths of a second. So, you know, you get in a race like that, everybody's going to be neck and neck. So anything can happen there. It's just whoever is mentally prepared, whoever wants it more coming down that stretch.
So it's safe to say confidence going into this weekend is pretty high.
Oh yeah, good.
Ryan and Michael, can you talk a little bit, you guys have a tradition of being strong in this relay. Can you just talk about being able to represent this relay personally for you guys?
Either way, as of now, I'm the alternate, and no matter what happens, you know, I'm there to support the guys. I'm going to be there warming up with them and making sure they're ready to go and in the zone. You know, whatever I can do for them off the track. You know, I'm warming up today and doing workouts, and, you know, making sure they're running as hard as they can. I'm just really trying to do my part to get our relay primed and, you know, ready to go for the national championship.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Kind of just like a strong team, you know, we all have each other's backs, and you know, when we're out there running, we all think of each other. Like, we don't want to mess up because I don't want to let my team down, and that we can do it for each other. And I just think we're kind of a close-knit group, and we have each other's backs and stuff like that.
I think I'm really proud of this group of guys, because all of you that cover sports and know that it's really easy when things are going smoothly for things to all fall in place. The mark of a true champion is when things aren't going well for you, and that you're able to put those disappointments and things behind you and focus on the things that you can control that are in front of you. And that's what all we've talked about, is we can't do anything about who's sick and who's not. Those are things that are out of our control. All we can do is talk about what we're going to do. And I know that these guys are going to run well. What happens, like Ryan said, it's so close that, you know, we could win or we could be 12th too, and that's how close it is in between. And but just the fact that we've been able to get there with this group and all the things that have happened, I'm super excited. You know, the one thing that we haven't mentioned is Nick Geiger in the multi, and that's a real unique event where they have to do 7 events in one day, or in 2 days, 4 one day and 3 the next. And each one of those events, if you have one bad event, can cost you the whole ball game. Because it's all on a point system, and very often you will see somebody, only a few years ago, the world record holder no-heighted in the pole vault in the decathlon at the Olympics and got 0, dead last. And so that's what makes that event really, really interesting, is that you have to be on from one event to the next. You have to be able to switch gears, and one of them is a high-intense event where you can be all excited and I can be slapping you in the face and getting you ready to go, and the next event I've got to be soothing you out and getting your intensity level way down low because the event demands that. And that's really unique for a track and field event, is to be able to go this roller coaster type of an effect, which is different than many of the sports that we have.
Give us a little bit of an idea of what Nick's strengths are in the hep, and where you.
Nick is a very good hurdler. He's a very good pole vaulter, and he's a pretty good high jumper. He really doesn't have a bad event. Those are the three that are where he's really good. And he's improved upon his weaknesses a lot. He was not a real good long jumper when he first started out, nor was he a real good high jumper, and he's actually turned into a really good high jumper for a multi-event. The long jump right now still probably is his Achilles heel, I would say. And like many decathletes who aren't blessed with the distance runner's body, anytime you have to run 1,000 meters at the end of those 7 events, he would tell you right away that's not his favorite thing to do. When the trophy's on the line and you have to run 1,000, that's not necessarily what those multi guys look forward to.
Any other questions? Coach, guys, thanks very much.
Thank you. You bet.